we're here based in East London, and you only have to walk around Spitalfields Market and Brick Lane to know that in-store shopping is still very much in. And so with that in mind, obviously the demand is slightly to be invisible, as you mentioned, but also to offer value add. And I'm going to skip ahead to a question I had stored for later, and that's looking at POS terminals. I know Aevi works a lot around that, and really maybe even the software within that. How are POS terminals going to change? What are some of the innovations we're going to see, and how is Aevi going to be spearheading that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, if I talk about POS terminals, payment terminals today, we've already started to see the smart revolution. That's kind of as what I would call table stakes now, right? You can go to most stores. I mean, I went to Camp Bestival the other week down in Lulworth Castle with the kids, and every ice cream truck and churros seller was using a smart terminal now. You know, that's just kind of par for the course. They're the terminals that you're going to see. So there's two more steps for me that are going to be really important. One is, how do we actually get the value out of those sorts of terminals, right? So every terminal now has a big screen, it has more points of interaction, it has better ways of usage, but a lot of people are still using it as if it's a traditional payment terminal. So this first step is, how do we utilize the infrastructure that's already going in there today? And things like Android terminals give us a huge ability to do that, and it's a word that you're going to hear a lot from me today, which is flexibility, because they allow proper flexibility between, you know, who does what on the terminal, which vendor of which piece of software needs to live where, and how do they all interact together. And that's where orchestration becomes important, right? Which is kind of where we come in, which is to say, look, here is a really nice list of separated concerns between a loyalty provider, or an inventory management solution, or a point of sale system, or even, you know, payments microservices like tipping. All of those things can now live on that one device, which is really good for a merchant. But obviously that merchant still doesn't want to have to think about that, right? They're not technologists. They don't want to have to go in and set those devices up. So they need solutions that allow those things to be strung together really seamlessly, really effortlessly as far as they're concerned. They have a good experience, their customer has a good experience, but ultimately the people that are selling them those services have the ability to bundle together, to give flexibility, and to really shift that payment device from being something that they need to have to something that actually benefits them. And that's when, you know, where we work with, for an example, an ISV, so someone who has their own software solution, they are specialists in running restaurants, or they're specialists in running bike shops, whatever it is their software packages tend to do. And we go and talk to them about the point of sale, we go and talk to them about the payment device, and historically they've looked at it as a necessary evil. We have to integrate with payment terminals because our customers need to accept payments. And when we start talking to them about smart terminals, we start talking to them about the orchestration we can do, about how much more presence they can have on the terminal, all of a sudden we're not talking to the one person in that company that deals with payments, we're talking to their product teams, because they see these devices as an extension of their solutions, and hence they become more integrated, they become more seamless with their solution, and the end merchant gets a much better experience using those payment terminals. So that's kind of the here and now, right? That's making the best of the infrastructure that exists today. But again, where we're looking is, and then where's that going to go? So we're trying to enable our customers to set themselves up today for an ever-changing payments future. You know, one of the historical challenges in in-person payments is, you know, you get something installed, you want to keep that thing in there for 5 to 10 years to sweat the asset, to make it worth your while to have a, you know, the little black box that accepts payments installed in a solution. We very much want to get away from that model and towards the model where, look, in 2 years' time, things might look completely different. And you need a system there that allows you to evolve and change quickly to enable that that difference to actually filter down to the merchants rather than just be on the trade show floor.
Yeah, now that's always one thing we find in finances. It can just be stuck on the trade show floor, innovation for innovation's sake. And if I can, obviously as a consumer myself, I want to get into real terms here. Say I walk in to a clothes shop and I buy a really nice jacket and I go to the POS terminal. What type of value add could I potentially see as the consumer using that new Aevi powered POS terminal?
Yeah, good question. So the first thing is again coming back to that choice and flexibility piece, right? If you walk into that store and you have a specific way you want to pay, say you wanted to use PayPal instead of using your physical card, or obviously you want to tap your phone, or you want to tap your watch, or however you want to do that, the first thing that the payment terminal needs to do is be able to accept all of those types of payments. That's kind of, again, table stakes, right? We don't ever want the situation where a merchant has to put a handwritten note stuck on their desk saying we don't accept Amex. So the table stakes for me is accept the types of payment that your customers want to pay with. And more that's including alternative payment methods, buy now, pay later solutions, online payment solutions which are still very much e-commerce focused, but trying to bring those to in-store as well. The second thing is about walking that very fine line for you as a consumer between good service, between feeling involved with that retailer and your privacy. And those two things, especially in the in-person world, are ever competing, right? Because to get that personalized experience, you have to give some of your information over. But more and more consumers are getting concerned about, well, who am I giving my information to? How do I keep privacy? So, the other thing that we're working on even today in these terminals is how do we do things like use your payment choice as an identifier for you. So not necessarily using your personal details, but at least being able to recognize that you're a loyal shopper to that store. And we can start doing that just by recognizing the payment type that you're using, right? So we're not taking any of your details, we're not touching any of your personal details, but we are allowing that merchant to see, hey, look, this person, whoever they are, is a regular user of your store. And maybe if we have the right integration with the point of sale, and here's what they buy and here's when they buy it. And starting to build up that picture of your consumer, which you can then say, oh, hey, we notice you come in here a lot. Would you like to have X or Y offer if you give us a little bit more of your personal information? And then you can work down that sort of trade-off route towards hyper-personalization.
Amazing.
But to do any of that stuff, the first thing you need is access to the data that you have. And again, historically, in-person payments has been a lockbox, right? You don't even see your payment transactions until, at best case, the end of the day, worst case, the end of the week, right? And then when you see that payment transaction, you get no detail about it. And that's where, again, our platform really comes into play, is we give access to that data to the people that can make the most of that data as that data happens, right? So we're all about openness in in-person payments, which in itself, you talk to a lot of industry experts, and openness and in-person payments are, diametrically opposed thoughts. But there is no reason why that needs to be, right? We can absolutely give the same sorts of experiences that people have in online commerce in the in-person space, the same sort of access to the data that's being collected, the same sort of manipulation of that data to get the best result, both for merchant and consumer.